Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to be doing a video today on tractors and kind of what to look for if you haven't owned one before. I have a few of my friends up here in Alaska who have been asking me what I looked for when I bought this tractor. And the first thing I would say is no less than 40 horsepower. And that's kind of a yes and no thing, but when you get below, I believe it's 26 horsepower, you don't have the regen, but then you don't have power to do anything. And 40 horsepower on my tractor, which is an LS brand tractor, which also makes Massey. They make New Holland and a few others, I believe. And the New Holland is the closest, as the parts are interchangeable pretty much between New Holland and LS. Same colors. The difference is on the loaders. And this loader has a little more lift, I believe, than the New Holland would as far as lift capacity. But let's just go into this for just a minute. This is called, for short, an SSQA, Skid Steer Quick Attach. And what that does is that just fits into a pocket right over here on your bucket or your forks, or if you have a grapple or whatever. Okay, if you are looking at a green tractor, you got to beware, because they have a special green only attachment. All right, and so what happens if you get that and not the Skid Steer Quick Attach, which is an SSQA, is now you're stuck. When you go to buy attachments, it has to be that John Deere Quick Attach, which makes your attachments way more expensive and way harder to find. Everything Attachments is probably the best I could recommend that does things, although I don't have any of their attachments. But you want to be sure of that. The other thing I can tell you is over here on the bucket. All right, and I don't know how clearly you're going to be able to see this. I'll see if I can move it up here a little closer. And but there. Okay, you can see I have hooks on the tractor. I have hooks here. These are my big hooks. That's for putting a strap in to pull on. These little guys right there are for using a chain. And straps I use for what you see me logging on the log mill. And chains I'll use for pulling stuff out of the woods. But if I wanted to do something with the strap, that's why I have that big eye. You can just loop over like this and curl your bucket and pick up whatever you want. These little eyes, these little brackets right here, you can put a chain in like so, and you can go around and hook on itself. This one's for logging, so it cinches tight. So you can do that. And these I bought separately in Fairbanks. And I don't know if you can see well enough, but I welded them onto a piece of 1/4 inch plate. And that's 4 inches square. And then I welded that onto the bucket. Okay. That's so that if you weld this right onto this bucket, you're on such a small area, you pull anything heavy, you'll just pull the bucket. These other hooks I got from Ken's bolt-on hooks, and they are just bolted on. And they're good hooks, but if I was pulling a lot of weight, it's going to have to be done out here, because I'm afraid I'd just pull and bend the bucket. Underneath here I have some eyes that I'll bring around here so you can see. I put on the bottom side, and those also have a base on them. I've got these guys right here, okay, so I could run a cable through there or something like that. The other thing that won't show up too much here is on your bucket. This bucket is drilled. My cutting edge is. I have holes in it. Right here, they're all full of junk right now. So what that is you can bolt an additional cutting edge on. And I do need to do that. This bucket is about 3 years old now. And so that's something you want to look for. That's not really a requirement. So that's kind of it for the front end. This loader has, I believe it's about a 1,700 pound lift weight. Now, what you got to watch for is how it says that lift weight is. The lift weight for 1,700 pounds is at that pin right there. So when I put a set of forks on out here and I get out here 2 or 3 feet, my lift weight is a whole lot less. The other thing that you can do is my curl power is way more than my lift power. So for example, my sawmill, when I lifted it off the trailer, I could lift it, about an inch. But the backside was still on. I could curl it enough to get it off. Now, the back end got light on me, so I drove the trailer out. But that's just another thing you can do. While I'm up here on the front end of the tractor, these are also hoses for a third function kit. This on this tractor, on all of them, this is an extra. I believe I gave about $1,100 for this installed before I ever got the tractor. The reason I did that is because I live out in the Tules, and if you need a fitting, where I used to work at, we used to have a whole lot of them here in Delta, but they moved everything to Fairbanks. So if you don't have it, you're either mail ordering it or you're going to drive to Fairbanks to try and find the fitting. Okay, some of the other things I look for on the front end of the tractor is I look for battery placement. I like the battery up front here because it's easy to get to. And if you can, you're going to have to change it, at some time or other. And sorry, ladies and gentlemen, but I'm trying to get you the best scene I can. Let's do it like this. Maybe, huh? Is that helping you any? There. All right, the battery's right here, okay? So that makes it easy to get to. And also if you have to jump, and I run a lot of stuff off of that. Looks like I need to clean my screens. I was out mowing. And that's something you need, another thing you need to watch if you're mowing, is that it'll overheat if those screens get plugged up. And there is a place on the other side that you can pull the screens out. This is the air breather. It's a double one on this tractor. You change those at 500 hours. And so anyway, that's about it up here. The other thing I'm going to show you what I did, get back here a little bit. These are heaters for the tractor and the transmission. These are what you use on trucks. So it's got a male end. I can just plug a plug into them like that. This is for the battery charger, okay? Because I run a battery maintainer on it. So my doing that helps stop your battery from freezing and keeps it warm. Now the heaters I have on this, I've got a lot of them. The oil pan is split, so I have 2 oil pan heaters. And not all tractors will have that. I have a tranny heater, I have a battery heater, I have a hydraulic heater. And so in the winter time, I just plug these 2 and that plugs all of that plugs in. And ladies and gentlemen, this tractor, without having to double plug it, and I'll explain what that is in a minute, has started at 40 below, no problems. Okay, so now the guy who sells these tractors, if I was buying one again, I don't know if he's still in business. I would probably buy another one because of the price. You are not going to touch another tractor of this size and all the options for the price. But I'm sure he went through and he Loctited all the lug nuts. He did a lot of extra service to this tractor because I've not had any issues that other people have from other dealers. Fuel tank on a cab tractor, which if you're in Alaska, I would think you probably want, because trust me, plowing snow sitting out there at 30 or 40 below ain't a whole lot of fun. So with this, you got a heater, and I actually will dress just like I'm dressed today to run that. And so what I do is I run #1 diesel in this year-round, because when I worked at the rental place, we'd get caught with #2 in the tanks, and it'd get cold, and then everything was gelled. And that's kind of a pain in the neck. And what I'm going to show you here, this is what I run for additives. This is Power Service 911. Okay, that is strictly if your fuel is gelled. If it's gelled, you pour it in. I'm never in a hurry nowadays, so I leave it sit usually for 6 or 7 hours. I have seen it work where I was working where we poured it in and worked in about 15 minutes. This is Power Service Supplement. I don't know if you can see that. And this gets poured in the tank, every tank. You use a double dose here. A single dose, what it says on the back, will protect you down to about 10 to 15 below. Double dose takes you down to 40 below. That also prevents your fuel gel, but also with today's fuels, you need to lubricate for your injectors. So this is an absolute must to use. And I go through about a gallon a winter on it. And the other thing I can say about the fuel is on this particular tractor, there's a fuel filter right here. Okay, and so that, let's see if I can tip you up to it, but this is a fuel filter. This is a prime for the filter. I used mine so much it wore out. But there's a water sensor, so if you get water in your fuel, it comes on and it takes your power down to like 1400 RPMs. And so then you got to shut it down. And at that point, what I do is I just unplug it and I take it off, throw the fuel out, fill it back full of fuel, and put it back on. Okay. If it's not bad, you're lucky you'll get done with that. If it's bad, I've got another fuel pump that I use, an automotive one I bought, that you go in there and you tie into your battery, you pump your fuel out, throw it out, and get some fresh fuel. So that's just kind of the maintenance part of it. Okay, so for as far as things to look for, the main thing I can tell you right now on the front end is a skid steer quick attach, and you'll want probably a bucket and forks for it. You'll want to get ag tires, which is what these guys are right here. They have a very aggressive tread, okay, and they do tend to tear things up, but boy, I tell you what, you don't need chains. And this tractor also has, kind of pointed into you here, if I can get in there, this has a lockable point on, you lock all 4 wheels up. So a lot of times I get into something or I get a wheel that's teetering, you just step on that with your foot and push and it pulls you right out. This is your 4-wheel drive lever. Do not look at anything for Alaska that is not 4-wheel drive. It's just a waste of time. Another thing I like to look for, not all tractors have this, is that your brakes are independent for your rear wheels, okay? So I can push them. I can push, my gloves are wore out. I can push one like this, and I can push the other, okay? Oh, I got my brake set. If I want to put that through, then I lock both wheels. For tractors, this is advantageous because if you need to turn tight, step on one side or the other and you can spin it around real short. Let's take a little walk around here on the rear tires. These tires are loaded with beet juice because you need the additional weight. You start lifting stuff like with the forks when I lifted the sawmill, and I believe I had the back on at that time. My rear end was still wanting to come up and teeter like that. And so that you need that weight back here. On the back end, I'll show you here. This is your 3-point. And we have a little pin here that I can put in. You notice the free movement, okay? So if I put this pin in, that limits my movement. Some tractors have them on the inside here. You want to avoid those if you can. These have a bar and a pin. And I'll try and get out of the way and show you here. Okay, right here. These are a bar and a pin. So I can pull this pin up and I can move it in and out. And I got a lot of choices where to put that pin. Okay. That also lets you center your implement up on the back. You want this type as opposed to the screw type. Some people like the screw type, but it just takes a long time. This particular tractor, looks like I better get some, has windshield washers in it, so the windshield washer tank is right here. Another thing you want to check and make sure is that your tractor will come with a drawbar, okay? I believe the green tractors, this is extra, okay? And PTO is right here. This one isn't the way, it's okay, but I would like it if I could turn it. And the newer tractors have that, to where you have a disengagement, to where you can turn it. So you can line, like your mower up or your digger up, you can line it up so it goes on easily. I don't have any problem turning the implement, so it doesn't bother me too much. I did remove the cover. I don't recommend it, but an old man, it's hard for me to get down there and line and see stuff up, and this way it's just easy for me to slide something on there. This is your actual third function valve right here, and so that's what's running that quick connects up front. This is a 7-pin plug, so like you have on a vehicle for pulling a trailer. The other thing that's nice here, not all of them have this, is you got your rear hydraulics right here. You can see the hydraulics going down. So when the tractor's running, I'm trying to hook something up, I can move that up and down. And again, that's not all tractors have that. And another thing you want to look for is you got remotes right here. And I'll get into that. This is green, that's blue. And when I looked at the green tractor, I don't remember what it was. I think it was like $1,200 for each set. This all came with the tractor, as did the wipers, the rear wiper, the lights. I'll get into the lights in a little while. But anyway, that did that. My hydraulic fill is right here, and checking my fluid. We'll come on around over here. Now, on this side, I removed my step, because one of these days when I get ambitious, I'm going to build a toolbox for this right here, and then I'll just make it so it comes in here. Then I can throw my stuff in instead of storing it up there. Now, I don't know if you'll be able to see this all, ladies and gentlemen, but I'll do my best to show you. Alright. Here's your hydraulics. This is your rear remotes right here. That's your green one. That is just, you push it and it goes until you stop and let off. This one has a detent, forward and backwards. And that's the one you run your backhoe on. This is my 3-point up and down. I have a slidable adjustment there so I can control how far I go. I use this in the wintertime when I'm plowing snow with the box blade. I set the box blade to tilt way back and then I just hit that. This is a land leveling device. Not all tractors have this, and if you do get it, it's going to cost you extra. So you leave this up, you can push this down, and when you're working that, what you do is you come back here, and I'll try and make this so it's pretty clear for you. And my tripod will cooperate. Is you have a little latch right here, and you pull that up, okay? And then as you're going, this pin pulls onto here. And what that does is this works in and out. So as you're driving, when you come to a hill or something like that, this holds level, okay? Or it may raise up if it pulls the tractor down. You come to a low spot, it just holds where it's at, so you can fill in your low spot. The issue I've had with this is not really major, but what happens is this will tend to stick. I can't push with my hands, but when I use it, it'll tend to stick on the end position. So then when I come back here and I don't want to use it anymore, and I throw that over, I still have that. I have no control on my desk because it's still in the float position. So when you come back here, all you gotta do is just pull that back. And so that's that for the hydraulics. Pretty simple. Up here on the joystick control, right here, right here, okay, if I push that forward, I can go all the way to a lock position, and then that's a float. And so, like when I'm backing up, it's just a downward pressure is all that is, okay. Gear shift here, I got a hydrostatic, so I got low, second, and third. Low is when I'm digging or doing something like that. Second's what I run in most of the time. Third is road gear, and I've never used it. And so that's kind of that. Your hydraulic, your power takeoff is right here. It's electric. You just turn it over. Now, when you use a power takeoff, you want to make sure your engine is at idle when you turn it on. If you have an implement that has a shear bolt and you turn this on, you're going to snap that shear bolt bigger than big. So I have slip clutches, but I still turn it on idle. Okay. This is the throttle right here. Let's see. Key switch, of course. I have tilt steering. This is my forward and my reverse right here. I don't know if you can get this down here where you can see it. These are my forward and reverse levers, alright? I don't know what Deere has. I know Kubota has a heel toe, kind of like what a four-wheeler is. To me, that would be a big pain in the butt. Your leg would get really tired all day. This here, I can just move my foot, boom, 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 back and forth. And it works really slick. I do have a cheater steering knob on here. Got that off of Amazon, so I can just wheel it with one hand. Up top there, up in, right up in there, that's the heating and air conditioning. And I know you're going to laugh when I say air conditioning, but here in Alaska in the summertime, you close this cab up, it gets hot in there. So I do run that, run the heaters good. It does have a radio in it that I put in foolishly. I don't like to run a radio when I'm driving because my ears tell me how the tractor is running. I listen to the engine, I listen to the implements, what's going on. My ears are telling me something way before anything else does. Your engine RPM start to drop or bog, you know you got a problem. Even though you got air codes up the wazooie, you'll hear it before you see it. And so I personally don't like the idea of the radio. It's nice. We don't have that much out here. But the other thing for the Alaska tractors that we do, now this had just 2 piddly little lights on it. And so I went on to Amazon and I got that light bar. And I think it cost me like $70. And I was able to find the fittings that were factory fittings to this. So I used the factory light mounts and the factory wiring harness. So inside all I got to do is hit my factory switch and I got lights. And kind of the same on the rear end. Although I got individual lights back here, I don't know really why I did, but I did. It might be a little more... I think maybe so I could turn them outward so I could see out to the side of the tractor is why I did that. And so I think that's about everything, ladies and gentlemen, on the tractor. Now, pretty much everything I've showed you on this tractor is standard on this tractor. Everything I mentioned in this video is standard. When you go to the Green Tractor, and I went to their site not long ago, and I started adding. Everything is an add-on. The seat is an add-on. Everything. Armrest, that's an add-on. The skid steer quick attach is an add-on. Rear hydraulics are add-ons. Wheels, tires, they're add-ons. Everything is add-on. All right. So I compared to approximately a 40 horsepower cab tractor. Ladies and gentlemen, I quit at $80,000. That was just a tractor. That wasn't any implements. I'm sorry, but I can't afford that. I get into that kind of money, then I'll start looking at a real backhoe or skid steer, because you can pick skid steers up brand new for $60,000 or so. Not loaded, but you got something. And so I went with this tractor. I don't remember the exact price. I can tell you a ballpark on the price for the tractor and my implements, and I don't know if I can get you to see them here. I've got a post hole digger out yonder, way on the other end, but I've got a box blade over here, you can see. Nice view of the sky, huh? Okay, over there, I've got my backhoe, my mower, and my box blade. And then I got the post hole digger out yonder, and then my forks. Okay, ladies and gentlemen, everything you see here, everything I'm telling you, everything I'm showing you, delivered to Delta Junction was approximately $40,000. Okay, now that being said, you got to shop the dealer a little bit. The dealer's going to mean quite a bit to you. So the only way I could really recommend LS right now, the guy is extremely hard to get a hold of. However, where I used to work is a New Holland dealer, and there is a New Holland dealer down in Palmer, I believe it is, or Eagle River maybe, and they will work on New Holland. or on LS tractors. It's the same tractor. The parts are the same. So, okay, I've been too long-winded. Okay, I was saying is, with these LS tractors, you can, the dealer on this, he's extremely hard to get a hold of, unless you want to buy a tractor. Okay, if you want to buy a tractor, he's more than happy to deal with you. Okay, but after the sale, you're kind of on your own. Okay, didn't bother me too much because I am somewhat mechanical. The other recommendation I can tell you is to make part of the deal is that you want to get the mechanics version of the manual, and that's a separate thing. It's on CD. There's usually 6-7 volumes. It explains how to tear the tractor down to a bare frame and put it back there, torque specs, whatever. You want that, and you want a list of all your error codes, because otherwise you're going to end up being stuck calling the dealer for the error codes. And you will get them. I haven't had a serious one yet. The only one, everything I've got is my own self-involved. Water in the fuel. Me. The other day it came up, new one on me, learned. Water in the fuel is what it said. So I was out mowing the bar pit, and I came back, and I said, well, I was down to about a quarter tank. I said, let me get some fuel in there, and I'll put some power source in, maybe I can absorb that up. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the thing was out of fuel, and it was warning me. It took me down to RPM. It wouldn't run RPM, so I had to do something. And so it took, on my little hand pump there, 31 pumps is empty. It took 33, so that tells you I was pretty empty. But anyway, so like I was saying, dealers are one of your most important thing. To me, John Deere, I'll give you, it's a great tractor. I couldn't afford it. You know, by the time I'd have got that and all the implements, I'd have been $130,000-$140,000. The other thing that I don't care for them is that, please remember, I used to work at a rental place here in Delta Junction. I ran the rental counter. My former business was working with computer-controlled woodworking equipment, big stuff. So these machines are all computer controlled, and we had the John Deere software, and to where the guys in the shop didn't really know how to run it, but I did. And so I'd go back and I'd help them in the shop, and you could diagnose the problem somewhat, but it wouldn't, you could find the error, but you wouldn't tell you what exactly was wrong. You had to call John Deere for that. John Deere is protective. They will only work, they have to send a technician out. Nobody else can touch it. How good they're doing, I don't know. They lost in court with the farmers doing that kind of practice, but I don't know how good that is. I'm just trying to think what else I can tell you. Kubota, a good tractor, but again, they're right in there with the price with John Deere. I think in Anchorage you've got Coyote dealership, which is kind of along the same lines as the LS, although they're a little more expensive and they're not as loaded. The same thing with the LS ones right now. I think the MT342 is the equivalent to this tractor, and it's more bare bones, so you'd have to add some stuff, but you can kind of deal with that. You know, you can say, well, I'll throw this in or throw that in. So anyway, ladies and gentlemen, I think I've covered pretty much everything. If you have any questions, please feel free to comment and ask, and I'll do my best to answer. You probably want to get a good set of tools too. I don't know how to really say this, but you got to remember, I grew up on a ranch. I grew up around tractors, so the tractor is nothing new to me. On the forums, let's say I'm the freezer. On the forums, we get these people, they don't read the manuals, they're asking stuff, and the manuals will tell the question, you know, will answer your questions. With the tractors, I see it more in the low horse tractors like the MT122s, 123, 125s down that area, where people just do stupid stuff. And that's like I'm telling you, like these hooks, they just weld them on right onto the bucket, and then they wonder why their bucket breaks. And so that's just a few things I'm kind of warning you about. But if you got any questions, please feel free to ask, and I'll do my best to answer you. And whatever, they're all pretty good tractors. Remember, it's the dealer that's going to make it or break it. The other thing you need to keep in mind is that if you're out remote, like the LS dealer for me is in Wasilla. So the New Holland dealer that I used to work for, they live a mile down the road. So yeah, it's going to cost to get it hauled into Fairbanks, but if I had to call somebody out from Wasilla, oh my gosh, that's what, probably at least $50 an hour travel each way. So you'd be looking at $1,000 pickup and delivery before they even look at it. And I prefer a dealer. You want to look at the service department. The guy in Wasilla for LS is a one-man show, and I feel for him, I really do. But you got to have more than that. You got to be able to answer and call. People got to be able to get a hold of you. But that being said, the plus side that I think is that you got the LS dealers on the backside. They might not like working on it, and they certainly can't do warranty work. Or they won't. I shouldn't say they can't. They probably won't want to. But my tractor, ladies and gentlemen, has been good. The guy set it up really good, and I have about 450 hours on it. It's 3 years old. No problems. So with that, I'll close it down, and but shop your options and see what you get, because there is a huge price difference. I mean, $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 difference. So with that, I'll shut it down. I wish you all a good day, and y'all take care. Thanks for watching. Just thought of something I want to add. Something else you'll want to get with your tractor is you want to get some extra fluids, and it's something to think about. The hydraulic fluid you shouldn't have to do nothing with for 50 hours. And then when you change the filters, on mine anyway, when you change the one hydraulic filter, you're going to lose oil coming out, maybe like a gallon. Now what I did is where I showed you where that fill was for hydraulics, I made myself a little adapter, and I hooked my shop vac up to that. And you get your filter right there, and off and on, just bada boom, bada bing. And remember, you got to coat the ring on the filters with some oil. And I didn't lose any oil, but if you're remote, I would certainly have at least a 5-gallon bucket. The hydraulic fluid I use right now is running about $200 for 5 gallons. And the motor oil I'm using Rotella motor oil, and that's all I'll use. It's hard to get right now, so thank God I had some in stock. I bought ahead. The other thing I would like to say is get extra filters in stock for your tractor, all of them. And if you live remote, what I would recommend, it's going to cost you, but I would have their service department change the filters on it, completely change the filters on it before it ever leaves the dealer. And the reason I'm telling you that is because my hydraulic filter on mine, everything went smooth till I got to that. Then, ladies and gentlemen, I had a bear of a time. I think a good thing nobody was around me, but I had to get a really wide strap wrench like that, and a socket, ratchet, and a breaker bar or a piece of pipe on that to break it loose. And it collapsed the filter. It got to the point where if I wouldn't have got it loose, I couldn't have drove it. And that's because when they put the filter on, they painted the filter to the tractor. So your first filter change, if you don't have it done, is going to really be a pain in the neck. And that's why I say if you're remote, I would just have it done at the dealer. If I was to buy another tractor, I don't care what brand it is, I would have it done before I ever took delivery. And I kind of hate to say this, but I've been burned in Fairbanks by mechanics. I had stuff stolen that I had that I wanted put on. So what I would do when you look at your tractor and you've got the tractor you want, two things or a couple things I do. Record the serial number to make sure it doesn't get switched. Learned that on the shows in the woodworking deal, because our salesman would sell the same machine 40 times because everybody wanted the show machine because we tweaked it. We really didn't. We were just a little higher skilled. But you want to be sure you get that machine, and then I don't care what you do, but I would mark your filters. I tend to like liquid laundry detergent. In my time, we used Dynamo and a Q-tip, and you just mark stuff. And the reason you do that is because you can't see that it was marked, but if you put a black light down there, it'll show. And the reason I'm telling you this is so that you don't get a tractor, don't get delivered to you, and they, oh yeah, we did all this, and you go underneath there and looked, and you see your marks, because they will lie to you. And I can't say to any particular dealer because I don't know for a fact, but I know some of the shops in Fairbanks I've had when I had work done on the pickup that I wanted done that I was lied to, and I won't go back to them. And so now I was a trusting soul. Even being a mechanic, I shouldn't be that way. Now that's what I do, is I mark things. And yes, ladies and gentlemen, when I used to turn wrenches on equipment, I marked settings because customers would mess with things. So, but just a little black light and you can tell. And the reason I'm saying this, because the filters and the fluid change, when you get up front, if they do it right, you're going to be looking probably at today's price is $500 or $600, and you're still going to have to do it. I wouldn't have the fluids changed, but have the filters changed, because you have to do your fluids at 50 hours, your oil and your hydraulics, your filters. And so anyway, ladies and gentlemen, that's just a little tip from a former mechanic. So now I wish you a good day, and I got to get to work. Y'all take care.